Good evening. This is Maestro Cretella, here to do a little demonstration of the Chaos faction in the Dawn of War 2 Codex edition. So last time we did the Space Marines, now we're doing Chaos. We're not going to take a look at the units in the Army Painter this time, just because there aren't actually that many of them in the Army Painter that aren't already standard in Retail or Elite. So we're right here in a game. We're starting off with the Chaos Lord of Khorne, who is this guy right here. If you have seen videos of Codex edition before, you know that he had a different model, and I think people didn't really like that model because he looked a little unfinished. He's got a new model here, and it looks pretty badass, I gotta say. And I also received some complaints about my paint job last time. The paint job I used last time was just the standard paint job I use whenever I actually play Space Marines. This time, however, I'm actually going with color schemes that go along with the Chaos Commander that I am demonstrating for each one. So right now we have a World Eaters theme to go along with our Chaos Lord of Khorne. Now, if we look at our Chaos Lord of Khorne, he can be knocked down and suppressed. He starts out with a chain axe and a bolt pistol, so he's a tanky melee hero. But he is not quite the Chaos Lord that we knew in Retail or Elite. He's got some extra weapons. We'll start out by upgrading to the Axe of Blind Fury. This Axe of Blind Fury kind of seems to be kind of like a Bang Bang Hammer, in that it gives a stacking buff with each swing that he does with the with this axe. So we'll start upgrading to that. Additionally, this axe will also increase his Blood Rage ability, which this Blood Rage ability is something that comes standard with the Chaos Lord of Khorne. If we activate it right here, we see a little just red buff, and it says that it just makes him do a greater damage in melee. So now he has changed his chain axe. He has a double-sided chain axe. Looks pretty badass. Let's also give him an Armor Warrior, and while we're upgrading to that, we'll take a look at another unit. Let me just check my builds. Alright, so right here we have a Chaos Cultists. These are Cultists rather than Heretics, I think, to be a little more true to the lore. And if we look, the Cultists now in Codex Edition have their own model depending on what hero you pick. So for the Chaos Lord of Khorne, we have these guys, they have these masks, they have goggles on, they also have a symbol on their chest that I believe is the... it's kind of hard to tell because it's being blocked by the autogun, but I believe that is the symbol for Khorne. Let's actually take a look. So yeah, it looks like the symbol for Khorne. So they start out with autoguns. We can also upgrade to have an Arch Heretic. So that is our squad leader for the Heretics. And if you notice, they have new weapon warriors. I don't know if you kept up with basically just their upgrades in the previous versions. Before, they could get grenade launchers, much like in Retail or Elite. But let's just take a look. Now we have our Arch Heretic leader right there. He has an auto pistol and a sword, and he also has a little glowing aura. But now, instead of getting grenade launchers, the cultists can get either shotguns or flamers, so we'll try upgrading to that. And that is something that can potentially make them quite a bit better. While they're upgrading to shotguns, we'll just show a little worship, which, I mean, just looks like worship as usual, and it increases speed as usual. Now they have changed to shotguns, and if we notice, that changes. We've got shotguns on them, and we also have the other models are actually auto pistol and sword models. And then with that shotgun, we get the explosive shot ability. So now the cultist can actually function as a melee counter, which feels actually like a big buff to Chaos in this version of the mod. This is actually 1.97, which I think is not actually currently out publicly, and I think already there's probably some new test version going around. But they can now act as a melee counter. Before, I think they struggled against melee since they didn't really have much in terms of melee counters. We can also equip them with flamers. While they're upgrading to flamers, let's go back to our Chaos Lord of Khorne. He has upgraded to have the Brass Armor of Khorne, which gives him a charge. And that's a charge ability that I demonstrated in my very first cast of a Codex Edition game. And it's a very powerful charge. And charges in general seem to be very powerful in Codex Edition. So we'll just take a look at that charge. Charge through some of my own units. Right there, very good charge like that. Alright, while he's getting some more of those, we're going to get some new warriors on our Chaos Lord of Khorne. Let's upgrade to the Icon of Wrath. That one says that it will spur nearby allies into a frenzy in close combat. But if we take another look at our Cultists right here, we see flamers on them. 3 flamers in total, and they can switch back to shotguns. Let me just check. Yeah, switching back to shotguns, it does require you to spend those resources again. And then, let's see, they can also, of course, build a Shrine of Corn. Nothing too out of the ordinary of that. Probably functions much like they do. Probably function more like the shrines would in retail than in the Elite mod. They're almost done building their shrine. Let's take a quick look over at our Chaos Lord of Corn. He has upgraded to have the Icon of Wrath, and that's just kind of giving the units... We see those yellow circles around them. I think that's a buff from that, or that might be a buff from the Shrine, but either way, the Icon of Wrath is supposed to increase the chance of special attacks. We'll queue up some new warriors. We have the Harness of Rage, which will replenish energy. These look a lot like the retail or elite warriors. But we're just going to get some of those upgrades started. The last thing to show about these cultists is that they now have this ability, Summon Chaos Mutants. Summons a squad of Chaos Mutants, strong and fearless aberrations who can explode in a burst of warp energy. They have no concern for their mortality and thus are immune to suppression. So first we actually need to worship, and then we can summon Chaos Mutants. And if you notice, these guys look like heretics. They look like heretics because they basically are the heretic model. These are the Chaos Mutants. Previously in Codex Edition, you actually had to upgrade the Cultists into Chaos Mutants. Now you can keep the Cultists while still getting the Mutants, which, again, is something that's it seems like it could be very powerful, especially if you noticed how I got these Chaos Mutants instantly from these worshipping heretics. And I think that's something that could be very, very powerful, worshipping in the middle of an engagement and then just pulling out these Mutants. Now, the Mutants cannot worship. They can build a shrine. They can also Doom Blast. And if you notice, I got a little +10 there. That +10 was for requisition. So the Mutants and the Cultists actually return requisition to you whenever they die. The Mutants can repair, so can the Cultists. Mutants can repair. They can also use this Fanaticism ability, break suppression, and provides a bonus to speed and damage resistance. And these are Cultists, basically heretics. They seem to be moving very, very fast, although that might be because I have that Fanaticism ability active. Let's unworship with these guys. Ooh, I'm getting shot at by something else, by another Chaos. Oh, and there's an Imperial Abyss, just on my units, because there's an AI in here. I'll try to get those guys out of there. But let's take another look at our Chaos Lord of Corn. He's right here. Now has the Blood Maul, or the Blood Maul. We can do the Sweeping Doom ability. We can also use the Dark Halo, because I have that. Demonic Visage. Alright, then let's take a look at some of the other units I have out here. First of all, we have the Tactical CSM Combat Squad. We'll take a closer look at them, and they look a lot like Chaos Space Marines, which you would expect. They do come standard with a grenade. We'll throw that right there on our big blob of other Chaos Marines. Did almost nothing to them because they're in base. Now, if we look at our tactical CSMs, first of all, they have a huge variety of upgrades. They also come standard with 4 models, starting out with bolters. Now, first, you can either choose between the 2 marks. You get either the mark of Chaos Undivided, which, according to the tooltip, grants the protection from suppression and range damage. And here we just have an upgrade to that mark. I'm actually going to cancel it. Let's take a look at Khorne. Now, the other mark, all Chaos Heroes get to pick the mark of Undivided, but then your other mark corresponds to your Chaos Hero. Since I'm playing as the Chaos Lord of Khorne, we would pick the mark of Khorne, which increases the strength of this squad in melee. So we'll upgrade to that, and if we take a look at the other upgrades, they obviously start out with bolters, but we can also choose between chain swords, meltaguns, heavy bolters, plasma guns, or flamers. So now they have the Mark of Khorne, and they also get that Blood Rage ability that the Chaos Lord gets, increasing their damage in melee. Let's upgrade to have an Aspiring Champion, and while we're doing that, we'll also get the Chainsword upgrade. Yeah, we'll get that. While we're waiting for them, let's also take a look at... I'm not sure. Ooh, Demonic Roar, that comes from the Demonic Visage. So, Demonic Visage, instead of just having a passive aura, gives you Demonic Roar, kind of like the ability from the Blood Crusher, I suppose. Doesn't have any kind of animation, though. So if we take a look at our Chaos Space Marines, they now have their Aspiring Champion. The Aspiring Champion has a Power Sword and a Bolt Pistol. Meanwhile, they can still throw their grenade. They have those chain swords, so now we have a melee Chaos Space Marine squad. So you can get a melee squad just out of tier 1 like that. And what else are we going to do here? We will start upgrading to the Heavy Bolter, and meanwhile we will take a look at our Havocs. Our Havocs, we'll bring them over here. So our Havocs, much like the Space Marine Devastator in this mod, they start out with 2 heavy bolters, and they will be able to get 2 heavy weapons. They come standard with 4 members, so they start out with 2 heavy bolters. We will start upgrading. If you notice, they also get that choice between the 2 Chaos Marks. We will start out with missile launchers. We'll start out with the missile launchers, and we'll also upgrade to the Aspiring Champion. If we go back to our Chaos Space Marines right now, we actually have a heavy bolter on our Chaos Space Marines. So now our Chaos Space Marines are a suppression team, but they only have 1 heavy bolter compared to the 2 of the Havoc. We will now go to Flamers on our tactical CSMs. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at the missile launcher for our Havocs, and also the Aspiring Champion on our Havocs. Now, the Aspiring Champion is right here in the middle. He actually gets a bolter rather than like a pistol and chainsword, and I figured the Havoc is going to be pretty much a range squad, so it makes sense. Very nice rocket launcher models. And if you'll notice, first of all, we have missile launchers. We have 2 missile launchers. We can attack ground, which, I mean, doesn't actually do anything. We also have a frag missile ability. And this is an ability that can be used quite effectively against infantry. And I'll even use it against my own infantry, since I'm pretty sure it does friendly fire. It will suppress and knock down and do damage in an area. There we go. Yep, look at that damage. Alright, so those are our Havocs. They can also upgrade back to their heavy bolters. It, of course, does cost resources, but we're actually going to go to we'll go to autocannons. Back to our squad of tactical CSMs. They are now upgraded with flamers, so you can see that they have flamers, or rather flamer, since it's a single flamer. If we attack ground right here, can you do friendly fire on your own buildings? No. But either way, this is a flamer on our tactical CSM. We'll start doing some other weapon upgrades. We'll do a melt-a-gun. Meanwhile, we'll also stop that attack round. Here are some autocannons on our Havocs, and I really like the look of double autocannons. And we'll just attack ground right there, because I want to take a look at a double autocannons opening fire. So that's really cool. I like the echoing sound of having 2 of them. But we're actually going to go to las cannons now. We'll stop having them attack ground. Go back to our tactical CSMs. They now have melt-a-gun, just 1 melt-a-gun. We'll also show off the plasma gun while we're also looking at some more squads. So this squad right here are our Chaos Raptors. They also come standard with 4 members. They start out with a melt-a-bomb, and they of course start out with the jump. Now the jump isn't going to show here, but the jump for the Raptors in Codex Edition just does knockdown rather than suppression. Now, our Raptors, they again have the choice between the Mark of Khorne and the Mark of Chaos Undivided. They can also get a Raptor Champion. It says his Vox casters can suppress the pathetic troops of the enemy as we crash down on them. So I guess the Raptor Champion can actually suppress on landing. Maybe I'll even go out and see if I can find a squad to test that on, since I know some of you guys wanted to see me actually send these units out. So, but we'll take a quick look at our Raptor Champion. The Raptor Champion does have a Power Sword. We'll also upgrade to the Power Fist. Let's see, the Power Fist is supposed to upgrade the Raptor Champion. See if we can find any squads. Here we go. Alright, so didn't do any suppression, but it did do knockdown. Ooh, some kind of lascam. But if we take a look at our Raptors now, I did upgrade so that the Aspiring Champion would have that Power Fist. Alright, and then the last squad we're going to show before we switch heroes, this right here is a squad of Khorne Berserkers. Khorne Berserkers right here. Let's just take a look at their models. Very, very nice. Reminds me a bit of those Khorne Berserkers in Dawn of War 1. They do, of course, come standard with that Blood Rage ability. And you can also get a Aspiring Champion. Let me take a look again at those Khorne Berserkers. You can only have one squad of Khorne Berserkers as well. If we just run around a bit with our Khorne Berserkers. And then let's take a look. We have our Berserker Champion. He has a slightly different helmet, and he also has a maul. Quite a dangerous spiked maul. So that's mostly what we got for the Chaos Lord of Khorne. I'm going to start a new game so I can do more the next cast heroes as well as different units. I think actually the last thing, just some people said, like, oh, I didn't comment on the globals, and the globals are slightly different. We have a Blessing of the Blood God global, which sounds basically like Bloodlust with the new name, and just, yeah, that's Bloodlust basically. We also have the Blood Frenzy global, which, if you notice, it uses the same icon for the Blood Rage ability for the Chaos Dreadnought, and it looks like it basically gives that ability, but just to whatever squad you want. Yeah. Still have Blood Sacrifice, Deep Strike Cast Terminators, and Imperial Abyss. Let's just... oh, can't actually Imperial Abyss because I didn't upgrade to Tier 3. But we're going to switch out to the next hero, the Chaos Lord of Nergal. Alright, so we're back now with the next Chaos hero, and for the Chaos Lord of Nergal, I have gone with a Death Guard theme for our Nergal champion. So our next hero is the Chaos Lord of Nergal, as seen right here, basically our Plague champion. And for the most part, though, he seems to be relatively unchanged. He does have a different model, of course, but it basically just seems like a Plague Marine model. We have a Plague Marine model instead of the Plague Champion model. He starts out with a bolt pistol and a chainsword, but if you notice, his war gears seem mostly the same. He's got the Bile Spewer, we'll upgrade to that, Fetid Armor, we'll upgrade to that, and Blight Grenades. So far, pretty much everything the same. However, we do have this Gift of Nergal ability, which does come, again, comes completely standard with the Chaos Lord of Nergal. And it allows him to basically heal himself out on the field, and we see him healing himself up a bit right there. We also have... we'll take a look at our Nergal cultists. So our Nergal cultists are slightly different. They actually have, it looks like Deathcore of Krieg masks. Just like kind of a different color. But they don't have that Khorne emblem, so they look quite a bit different. But they do have the same upgrades. Can still summon some Chaos Mutants, get those shotguns. Additionally, next, I'm still kind of making some units, but here are our Plague Marines. I'm going to move them up a bit this way. Alright, these are our Plague Marines, and our Plague Marines, again, they look much like they do in Retail or Elite. I'm not sure how well they necessarily function as anti-infantry with their regular bolters. Of course, the bolters in Retail and Elite for the Plague Marines are quite bad. Very, very bad in Retail. And then Elite, they were made slightly better so that they're better than, say, Scout Bolters, but still pretty bad. They do have this Gift of Nergal ability as well. Just they can have some on-the-field healing. We can upgrade to a Plague Champion. So we'll get the Plague Champion. So basically the champion. Looks like he will come with some Blight Grenades. And let's see, I'm going to check my building at my HQ. Yeah, I'll leave that Chaos Dreadnought building. We'll get a Plague Champion. We'll also get the Bile Spewer as well. Why not? Back to our Plague Champion, our Chaos Lord of Nergal. We have, again, pretty much standard things. We have the Bilious Discharge right here. He shoots out that discharge. Unholy Stench, as well as Blight Grenades, which I actually don't even have the energy for. We're going to switch over to some War Gears again. Sword of Undeath and the Armor of Pestilence. If we take... now we have our Plague Marines, though. Our Plague Marines have Bile Spewers, or rather Bile Spewer, just one. The rest have Bolters. I really actually like the Bolters that are on these Plague Marines. They kind of have... they have, like, something over their barrel. But they also have the Bilious Discharge. Can you do friendly with the Bilious Discharge? Wow, that Bilious Discharge just destroyed my Cultists. They're reinforcing, but I'll actually stop them from reinforcing. But they so the bilious discharge actually does damage. Wow. So that's not just a snare. That bilious discharge does damage. Then we also have blight grenades. You know what? I'll kill my cultists. And so we have blight grenades as well. So we have a squad of plague marines. Actually seem to be able to do quite a bit more than they could in retail or elite, since they have that bile spewer. Can do the bilious discharge as well as the blight grenades. Wow, and I actually can't change them over to the rocket launcher now that I've upgraded to the blight grenades. I'm going to try to kill these guys. But if we take a look at some of the other units I've gotten right now, I have some bloodletters. Some bloodletters of Khorne, as they are called, and they seem to be very, very similar to how they would be in retail or elite. They can, of course, teleport or warp, as it's called. And they also have the warp shift ability, making them immune to suppression and knockback and damage. If we go back to our Chaos Lord of Nergal, rather. Our Chaos Lord of Nergal. Let's see, I'm going to build another unit while I'm waiting. Let's do... I can only have one squad of Plague Marines. Let's do a squad of Tactical CSMs. And a squad of Chosen CSMs, and I might have to kill some other friendly units as well. These... what can I even kill? Alright, I'm going to bring these bloodletters over here, see if I can maybe kill them. But if we take a look at our Chaos Lord of Nergal, he now has the Sword of Undeath. Again, most of this stuff just seems to function much as it does in retail or elite. However, we now have the Icon of Despair instead of the Icon of Nergal. And that actually adds an aura. It actually heals allies while draining the life from nearby enemies. While we're waiting for a few more upgrades from that, we're going to take a look at our Dreadnought right here. So this is our Chaos Dreadnought. The Chaos Dreadnought now comes standard with a Heavy Bolter, or a Twin-Linked Heavy Bolter. It can, of course, charge. That awesome charge ability. And it has a few different weapon upgrades. So we start out with the Heavy Bolter. We can get the Missile Launcher, of course. Very, very long descriptions. While we're upgrading to that, let's take a look at our Plague Champ, or our Chaos Lord of Nergal, rather. He can still do the Pestilent Strike. He now has his Plague Fist, and he has this Icon of Despair. And we can see the healing aura just on the Bloodletters of Khorne right there. I'm actually going to switch back to the Blight Grenades because I want to see if I can kill my Bloodletters. Actually, I'm not sure if I need to. But let's go back to our Chaos Dreadnought. Now we have the Missile Launcher. Can do Frenzied Barrage. I bet it does some friendly fire. Yes, it does. We'll get another upgrade. They can also get extra armor. But for now, let's go to... Oh, it actually says Mark of Khorne for the Close Combat Claw. But if we take a look at some other things, we now have a Rhino Transport. So Chaos has access to metal boxes. They have a Rhino, and it seems to function all like the Space Marine Rhino. You can get some extra armor. It does have a Frag Launcher ability. We'll do that on our Bloodletters because those are the units I want to kill. So it throws some of those grenades. Just throws the grenades, interestingly. I was wondering if, because I know for when I did the Space Marine one, it not only threw grenades, but also shot from those Storm Bolters on the top. Although now for these guys, we don't have Storm Bolters, rather we have Twin-Linked Bolters. There is a difference. The Twin-Linked Bolter is basically like two bolters strapped together, two regular bolters strapped together side by side. It's kind of a primitive design, whereas the Storm Bolter is a weapon that's actually designed as a double-barreled weapon from the ground up, and it's more advanced. But this is our Rhino. Can do a smoke launcher there to reduce damage, and it can also charge. Why not just charge through my own units and knock them down? Alright. We go back to our Chaos Dreadnought. We do have Blood Rage on our Chaos Dreadnought with the Mark of Khorne. We'll just activate that. And it is doing nothing at the moment, maybe nothing close enough to it. How about if I send some units right here? There we go. Now it'll start attacking, much like I would expect it to. Doesn't seem to be doing that much. But let's see. I don't think I actually need to kill my Bloodletters. So let's just take a quick look at our Tactical CSMs. They too also have access to like I said, you can either get the Mark of Undivided for all Chaos Heroes, or you can get the mark that corresponds to your Chaos Hero. So now we have the Mark of Nergal that the Chaos Marines can get. So we'll upgrade to that. While we're doing that, our Chaos Dreadnought, we're gonna switch out to the las cannon. Yeah, we're gonna switch out to the las cannon. Meanwhile, we'll reinforce our chosen CSMs. And now our tactical CSMs, they have that Mark of Nergal, and they can also heal out on the field just like that. Let's see. Alright. Now we're going to go back to this squad. This squad right here, let's get them to a spot where we can see them all by themselves. This squad is called Chosen CSM Combat Squads. They don't have the horns, they have this red aura. They are presumably better than the regular tactical CSMs. Hopefully they are, because they cost a bit more and they're in tier 2. Although it's hard to it's hard to kind of tell the difference. In fact, the tactical CSMs actually appear to have more health. I don't know if they got any extras when I upgraded to the Gift of Nergal. So that's interesting. Hopefully their other stats are better. But they have a slightly different choices as far as weapon upgrades. They do not have access to the chainsword. They do not have access to the heavy bolter. They do have access to the meltagun, the flamers, and the plasma guns, much like the tactical CSMs. Let me see if there's a difference between those, because I know our tactical CSMs get one of those special weapons and the rest of them keep their bolters. Let's also see what the chosen CSMs do when you get a new weapon. So these are our tactical CSMs, and they get the one special weapon. They get that one meltagun, the rest of them keep their bolters. If we look at our chosen CSM, so instead we get 2 of these special weapons. We have 2 meltaguns, and now the others, they have storm bolters. They probably should have twin link bolters, but either way, they have storm bolters instead of regular bolters. If you notice, let's actually start upgrading to another weapon. Let's start upgrading to the power weapons of chaos. And we'll also just take a look at their war gears. They do, of course, have a grenade that comes standard. They can also infiltrate. So that's probably a pretty big boon or buff, because you get these infiltrating CSM. That sounds pretty powerful to me. Imagine if Chaos Space Marines could infiltrate in retail or elite. We'll uninfiltrate them, and then they also come standard with a Melt-A-Bomb. And now we have the power weapons of chaos. So they get these lightning claws. All 4 of them get these lightning claws. Oh, and our chosen CSM, if we notice by the little icon, are also a detector. Let's also upgrade to have that chosen champion. While we're upgrading to the chosen champion, I'll pick the plasma gun next. Ooh, and the chosen champion has a maul when the squad is using the power weapons of chaos. Although I imagine he'll probably change back to something else when we have the plasma guns. Let's go back to them. Yes. So we have 2 plasma guns, 2 storm bolters, and now we have a aspiring champion with a plasma pistol and a power sword. So that's most of what we're going to show for now. You know what? Let's just Imperial Abyss all these guys for the fun of it. Before we switch to our next Chaos Hero, the Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch. Can I get everyone in here? Nice and centralized right in the middle. Let's try it right here. Let's open wide the Abyss of Chaos. Alright, we're going to switch to our next Chaos Hero, the Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch. Alright, so we're back here now with the Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch, our very last Chaos Hero. We'll take a look at him right here. This is good old Sindri, our Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch. For this time, we now have a little Thousand Suns themes going on. So if we take a look at our Sorcerer Lord, he has the exact same model, but his war gears have changed up a bit. Now he still has the Sword of Flame and the Rod of Warpfire. Armor war gears have been changed up a little bit, though. We have the Vestments of the Warp. Now, this is the Vestments of the Warp, but if you notice, right now my Sorcerer only has Doom Bolts. He doesn't even have Consume, so he only starts out with Doom Bolts. He has Doom Bolts. Now, we're going to see from the Vestments of the Warp what he gets. Alright, so from this one Armor Warrior, the Vestments of the Warp, he actually gets both the personal teleport as well as the normal ability that comes out of the Sigil of the Rift, and we'll just teleport a unit right there. Yep, there we go. Alright. So he has that. He gets both of those abilities from the Warp Rift. However, he's a little low on energy and he can't consume for so many abilities that he has. So if we take a look at some of the other warriors, his next armor warrior is the Demon Armor of Sacrifice. And this says that it allows him to gain access to greater warp powers by sacrificing the life force of an allied unit. We're going to start upgrading to that, the Demon Armor of Sacrifice. And if we look at his accessories, it seems similar, except for the fact that this says Chains of Torment, not Tome of Subjugation. And what that means is that you can actually have both the ability to warp and Chains of Torment in the same build, which is something I always wanted in Retail or Elite, just, well, even though that probably wouldn't be fair. But now I'm upgraded to the Demon Armor of Sacrifice, so now I can consume, and I'll consume a unit. So I can consume, but on the other side of things, I can't have consume and teleport in the same build for the Sorcerer. But here are Chains of Torment, work out very similarly, although I haven't been entirely satisfied the times when I tried to use it. We're going to now go to the Armor of the Raven God. I'm actually not even sure what that does. We'll find out when we do it, though. And we also have Let the Galaxy Burn. So he lost Subjugation, but he gained Let the Galaxy Burn. If you also equip the Rod of Warpfire, we'll take a look at what happens when we do that. While he is upgrading to all those warriors, let's actually take a look at our cultists. So they don't do anything different from what they did before, but they have quite a different look when you are playing them as the Sorcerer. They have these hoods. They have an eye on their hoods, and I think that refers to the Primarch, the Thousand Sons Primarch Magnus, who had only one eye. Our Sorcerer is still upgrading, so while he's still upgrading, let's actually take a look at these. These are Rubric Marines. Rubric Marines are something in the lore. They are Tzeentch Marines that I believe the Sorcerer Ahriman tried to cast a spell to prevent the Chaos Space Marines in the Thousand Sons from being vulnerable to warp mutations. So he did that, and he cast a spell that ended up reducing the body of the Rubric Marines to ash and trapping their souls inside of the armor. So this is basically just a walking power armor, these Rubric Marines, and they actually shoot infernal bolts, infernal bolters, whatever. Unfortunately, I can't upgrade to the Aspiring Sorcerer. That's the squad leader. Let me see if I can quickly use my Great Unclean One to kill a few models off of this Cultist squad so that I can get an Aspiring Sorcerer. That does not do any friendly fire damage, so let's try a Demolisher Cannon Shot on those Chaos Cultists. There we go, I think. Oh, don't reinforce. Alright, I need to kill a few Cultists so that I can get the Aspiring Sorcerer. Let's try the Grenade Barrage. That should do it. Okay. Now, if we go back here, I'm going to upgrade to an Aspiring Sorcerer. You can actually get a Sorcerer Squad Leader for these Rubric Marines. But let's take a look back at our regular Sorcerer. So right now, our Sorcerer, he gets Drain Life from the Armor of the Raven God. So he gained quite a bit from the Chaos Lord. He gets Drain Life. And if you notice, now I have 3 ranged spells. Unfortunately, with this build right now, I actually can't use too many of them. Let's actually switch back to the Demon Armor of Sacrifice. But we know that we get Drain Life from that Armor of the Raven God. Let's go back to our Rubric Marines. And now we have, look, yet another Sorcerer. And you actually get the Warp Fire ability from this Sorcerer. And that is something that I feel could be extremely powerful. Having that Warpfire ability, which is a very powerful ability in many ways, on another squad. But if we go back to our Sorcerer, when you have that Demon Armor of Sacrifice, he also gets a larger mana pool or energy pool. So now I can use all three of these abilities at the same time. I can do Doom Bolts. I can do Warpfire. And Let the Galaxy Burn. And I assume Let the Galaxy Burn is going to do friendly fire if it works. And there we go. It does work. Killed that last cultist. So yeah, you can. I kind of tried to do this before, going for a ranged and ability spam build with this Sorcerer. We also have the Icon of Flame instead of the Icon of Tzeentch. Gives him a different ranged ability, and we'll upgrade to that. But we've seen our Rubric Marines right here. Maybe we'll try to send them out again to see what they look like when they're actually shooting. But this is the Great Unclean one. Does have it. The Vomit basically has all of the same abilities. He has 10,000 health. However, he does have a smaller energy pool, so you can't use abilities as often with this Great Unclean one as you would with the Great Unclean one in Retail or Elite. Otherwise, he seems pretty much the same. What else do we have? I did show a bit. I hadn't intended to, but this is another Vindicator, a heavy support vehicle for Chaos. Now, for Space Marines, we got to choose between the Warland or the Vindicator. For Chaos, we only get the Vindicator, which is okay. It's probably better. Look at the details of this body on the front, this dead body on the front. But we have the Chaos Space Marines on top manning the Storm Bolters, or the Twin Link Bolters, and we do have that Demolisher Cannon, which we saw a bit. I will just shoot it again at our Tzeentch Marines or our Rubric Marines. A lot of disruption, and then they can, of course, charge. Again, right into our Rubric Marines. Let's heal our Rubric Marines up a bit. But what else do we have? We have a squad of Chaos Terminators. We'll take a closer look at our Chaos Terminators. They look a lot like the Terminators that we're kind of familiar with at this point from Elite Mod. They do have the Changer of Fate ability. I'm guessing this is the... This must be... Actually, let's build a squad of... I don't know. I'm guessing Changer of Fate. This must be the ability that comes when you get, the way I've showed, the Gift of Nergal or the Mark of Khorne. This must be the corresponding Mark of Tzeentch upgrade that you can get on most standard Chaos squads, such as the Havocs, the Tactile CSMs. Right now, I'm pop-capped on the... Pop-capped, and I didn't build those as part of this demonstration. But just apparently gives them extra power to ranged, extra accuracy and range, and power to range weapons. So I guess... Ooh, and it stays active for a while instead of just being a use ability and then cool down. So I guess while that's active, these units will actually do more damage than ranged. But anyway, we got 4-man Chaos Terminators. Can upgrade to have a Chaos Terminator Champion. And they can also choose either between twin-linked autocannons. Twin-linked? I don't even remember them actually being twin-linked, but they're autocannons, as well as lightning claws. While they're upgrading, we'll take a look now at our Land Raider Phobos. So this is the Land Raider Phobos. You only get to choose, if we take a look here, you only get to choose the Land Raider Phobos with Chaos. That's because the Land Raider Phobos was the original Land Raider pattern, so it was the first one, and then the others are all variants off of this original pattern. And back during the Horus Heresy, when basically Chaos got all their technology, the Chaos Space Marines use a lot of old technology. They don't use a lot of the newer technology that the Loyalist Space Marines used. So they don't have the other Terminator variants. They just have the Phobos, which is okay because the Phobos is good. But the Phobos has those las cannons on the side. It has the heavy bolter on top instead of an assault cannon. A twin-linked heavy bolter instead of a twin-linked assault cannon. Can do the explosive barrage as well as a charge, which I don't actually have energy for. Let's take a look back at our Terminators. So now Terminators, we do have that autocannon. It actually appears to be a different autocannon model. This one actually is twin-linked compared to the one in the Elite mod. We'll also check out the Lightning Claws. But our Land Raider Phobos, that's actually, I've basically shown everything except for this. This is now what you get this ability right here, the Bolt of Change, is what you get out of the Icon of Flame ability. It is another ranged ability, and it can stun vehicles. So let's actually try it. See, oh, we can't use it on vehicles. Actually, so it needs to target an enemy unit with that. And then here we have our Lightning Claw Terminators. So that, for the most part, that's it for the Chaos faction in the Codex edition. We also have Curse of Tzeentch actually as a global rather than an ability for the Sorcerer. And then the rest of these appear to be pretty much the same. I'm guessing this is the Warp Global or even Mass Warp from retail. No description for it. But let's just take our units, see if we can find anything to kill. Easy Computer doing their job, capping my natural power. Let's keep going. Vindicator is leading the charge. Eldritch Storm on my stuff, kind of missing. And so far having trouble finding things. But we have our Vindicator right here, just attacks with the Storm Bolters on top, and that's kind of funny. Only seems to be the one that's not manned is actually attacking. We have the rest of our units attacking. Let's actually get those Tzeentch, or the Rubric Marines, to shoot a bit. So here are our Rubric Marines taking a few shots. Get these guys attacking. We're attacking generators right now. But let's actually ignore the generators, see if maybe we can find anything in base. This is an easy computer. To my recollection, the easy computer will just build a lot of things in base. But they apparently did some capturing as well. Let's take a Demolisher cannon shot. And here we have, ooh, that's something that I will show you in a different way. Let's actually kill that thing. Alright, and that's pretty much it for the Chaos faction in the Dawn of War Codex edition. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.